Hey everybody, welcome back to Machine Quilting 101. This is part 3 of quilting the Loving Wishes quilt, and today we're going to do that beautiful feather border stencil. We're going to use the Chaparral Border Stencil. It's going to create that feather look, and it's going to look so effortless, but yet it'll look like it's been free-handed. And I also have a fun mini trunk show that we're going to do at the end of class. I'm going to pull out some of my quilts that I've done where I've used straight line quilting and Freemotion quilting together to give you some ideas of what you can do on your next project. So let's get started. All right, so we've got our quilt, we've got our stencil, I've got a ruler and a marking pen. And I know this can seem a little scary at first when you're doing a border because you think, where do I start, right? So where you're going to start are on the corners. I've already done the first corner for you, well, for me. Let me show you what it looks like. So I've already got this marked and I've already stitched it. So I marked my 2 corners first and then I marked working towards the center. And what's going to happen is your pattern isn't going to line up perfectly. The spacing's going to be off, and that's okay, because what we're going to do is slightly shift it either closer or farther apart, so that way, and we're going to do it over several loops, so that way it will be gradually go in together and it won't be noticeable. Okay, so let's mark this other side and I'll show you what we're going to do. That's what you guys can see. Here we're going to work on the 2 opposite corners here. Here's our stencil, and then if you want to use a ruler just to help line yourself up, that's fine, or you can eyeball it because we're just going to get it in the center. We want to make sure we're centered here across this side and we're centered here on this border. Okay, so that's just where we're going to place it. Now if you have like a little paperweight, you can always stick a paperweight on here to help hold the stencil if you need that. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to start marking. Now if you have questions about marking tools, you can always go to the marking tools video that I made. I'll link that down below for you that tells the pros and cons of different marking tools. I'm using the friction pen because I don't want the lines to start disappearing on us. So I'm just going to mark to here, and then let's go ahead and we're going to mark the other corner. Okay, so let me pull this so I can see it a little bit better. So I'm going to center it between the sashing here, and then I also want to center this design at the same time. Okay, you can eyeball it. If you want to measure it, you can measure it if you like. And then we're going to start marking here. And like I said, once we get our corners marked, then we're going to work towards the center. And this is where it's nice to have a stencil that already has the corner detail for us, that we don't have to try and figure it out. And I'm just going to mark to here, because I'm focusing on this line right here for now. So I'm going to line up. What I like to do is to line up at least 2 to 3 leaves or feathers here so that I know I've got it on the right position. And then I'm going to check through here to make sure I'm centered here. And then I'll just finish filling in my design, working up towards my center. So we're not going to mark the corner, right? So we're going to slide on up. You know, and it just depends on how long your border is to how many times you need to reposition. And if you get off a little bit, that's okay. Just shift it a little bit so you're lined back up and centered. And as soon as we get close enough to our top, that's where we're going to start kind of shifting our stencil design to get it to line up correctly. I'm going to be about, see, I got to go a little bit farther. So a couple more loops. And that'll help me see where I need to start shifting. Okay, so we can see, look, our stencil design does not line up with what we've already done, and that's okay, because what we're going to do is just slightly pull it down each time until we get the feathers to line up. Okay, so we're going to start here. We've got, start here. We've got a couple feathers already lined up down here, but what I'm going to do is just slightly pull it down a little bit. Just a little bit, not very much. And each time we go, we're just going to slightly pull it down just a little bit. This way you'll never notice. And then what we're trying to do is to get these feathers to line up. So we just want to do a little bit. Just a little bit at a time. And we're doing it over several feathers so it's less noticeable. That's too much. We're almost lined up. Let's see if I can get that there. So we've got our design lined up. We can finish it out. And there we've got it. So now let's go ahead and finish. We're going to do that again. I'm going to finish getting this marked, and then we're going to set up the machine so we can start on the Freemotion quilting. Alrighty, I've got my extension table on, my feed dogs are lowered, and I just wanted to remind you guys, you're going to switch to your Freemotion, your open toe foot. If you can see that, that's open. Or if you have a closed toe foot, you can switch to that one. Closed toe foot, I feel like that helps. If you have tension problems, that might help. You might want to try a closed toe foot. But this, I love doing this part. This is our custom quilting where we're incorporating different designs. I savor this kind of stuff, you know. I like expressing myself in the designs that I do. And I feel like when you do custom quilting, you kind of break up the quilting into little manageable segments that are more fun. And the border, it's always exciting when you get to the border because you know you're almost done. But we're going to work on this. And I'm going to get to the spot where I left off because I quilted that first side ahead of time. And I want to pull my thread up. So I'm going to do needle down, needle up, pull up that bobbin thread. You guys don't have to do that. You can always leave it on the back and trim it off later if you want. That just helps me to find it easier. And now remember, this isn't about speed. We don't have to go fast. We're going to do a nice steady pace. And what's easy about this is that we're just going to follow that loop to the next center section. And then we're going to stop. And then we can move our hands if we need to. And then we'll follow the loop to the next center section and stop. And we're just going to keep doing that. So we're just doing these little bursts of stitches. We don't have to go fast for it, where we're going to stop and start, and that way we keep a nice, even, steady pace. And when we stop, remember, we're going to take one stitch in place, and then we move off. That will help keep our tension steady. So, are we ready? We're going to take a couple stitches where we are, just because we're starting out, and then we're going to go to the center. Nice, steady pace. You don't have to go this fast if you don't want. And then we stop. So we fluff if we need to. Nice steady pace. To the center. And then stop. Okay? So always remember, this is a baby size. If you're working with a bigger quilt, you're going to want to kind of fold it up around you so that way it's not dragging or anything. You don't want to be leaning on your fabric. You can have your arm on here, but we don't want to be putting our weight on the quilt. That way we don't have any extra drag. I'm going to show you how to do the corner. Okay, if you look, the corner has 2 extra leaves right here. So we're going to work them, because we've been going just left, right, left, right. So we're going to do this leaf or feather. And then we've got the next one. And then we're ready to turn. So we're going to lift our presser foot, turn it around, leave our needle in, and then we're ready to do the next line. So that's the easy part. You can see how this really is going to start accenting everything. So we're going to work the way around this one, and then we're going to do another row right next to it. So you guys see how easy this chaparral border is. It's such a simple little feather design, but it looks great as a heart design too. And I want you to have the confidence you can do this. This is nice and easy. We're just doing little loops left and right, and we're stopping and starting. I'm going to finish quilting out this later on. I wanted to tell you what I'll do for the final border, because that was our chaparral border stencil that we're going to use for the 2 white borders. And we'll move this over here. For this final border, I am just going to use my walking foot, and I'll just use the outside edge of the foot to create a wide straight line. I was going to do a fancy design on here, but sometimes when you have a busy printed background and you try to quilt a design on it, you're not really even going to notice it. So I thought I'll probably just do a straight stitch there. And then I'm going to put the binding on. And I thought about doing a binding class for you all. So let me know in the comments down below if you want a binding class. I mean, it's basic binding, but it might be a little bit different than what you've seen before. So let me know. I'll do the binding class, and that way you guys can see it. So now let's get ready for our little mini trunk show to show you some inspirational ideas on some quilt projects that you can do. Are you ready for our trunk show? First up, we have the Sugar Coated Stars quilt. Some of you might have seen this before. It's turn pack friendly, but I wanted to show it to you because it uses, well, at least I used, the same stencils that I used on the Loving Wishes quilt. We have the little heart cluster, and we have the Chaparral Border Stencil. So I wanted to show you, on the Loving Wishes quilt, I used the Chaparral Border for the border. This quilt, I used it for the sashing. So you don't always have to use a stencil, the full stencil. You can break it up and use it in different ways. So as you can see, the little cluster we used for the center. But this part, just used the straight parts that I needed, like for the sashing pieces or for long sashing through there. I just used the straight part. I didn't use the curve. The outer borders I did just an outline quilting with my walking foot, and I outline quilted around the stars. So this is how I incorporated using both my walking foot and my Freemotion foot, using straight line quilting and quilt stencils with the designs. Now this fabric collection is of course Brenda Riddle, her Grace collection, which was ever so popular. She's actually coming out with another collection, Memory Lane, that is just as beautiful. I can't wait for it to come out. So the backing fabric is also from Grace, cute little rosettes there. And let's see, the pattern, this pattern comes in 5 sizes, baby to queen size. Now this is something that you could actually quilt yourself. You can make the top and you can quilt it yourself with just 2 little stencils like I did in your walking foot. Or you can change it up if you wanted to do an edge to edge across the whole quilt. That would be beautiful too. So this just to help give you some ideas of what you can do. So let's move on to our next one, which is a table runner. All right, this is probably one of my favorite table runner patterns. I have made it so many times in all different colors, but this is the Cottage Star Table Runner. It's perfect for fat quarters or for scraps. I love how the quilting turned out in this because it was just simple quilting that I did. I did a cute little rosette in the center. This was Freemotion Quilting. I outlined the stars here, just using the 1/4 inch edge of the foot. And then I did the wider edge so that this way created a wider outline around the outside of the stars for the bigger part of the stars because our double stars need to be featured. And I echo quilted it. So that means I just followed my first line with the second line, and I pivoted at the seams, coming back down, and I just did that all the way around. This was so simple and easy to do, perfect for a table runner, just to accent those stars. Now this pattern comes with the table runner and pillow pattern, so of course I wanted to show you guys the pillow pattern. And this, I did it in kind of like patriotic colors. I just pulled some reds, blues, kind of like a dark navy. It's almost black, and a charcoal. That I just loved how these pop too with our patriotic theme. Of course, I love patriotic quilts and everything. I have all kinds of members from the service in my family. But this one I wanted to show you, like this one here, I outline quilted just twice doing the echo quilting. Here I did it 3 times because this was, of course, the second one I made after this one. And I thought, okay, let's see how this pops with 3. And of course, you know, the rolls of 3s, rolls of 3rds, always looks better with 3, doesn't it? So here I did 3 outlines. I'll move this over to the center so you can see it better. But look how it makes that star pop. And this is just a simple pillow pattern. I mean, you could even use this for a tabletop or 2. But look how pretty that looks. Sometimes you don't have to do busy designs on your quilting. Sometimes just let the block tell you what it wants, okay? Just simple outlining of this one, and the white thread just really makes those stars pop and stand out. When you're doing scrappy quilts, especially with a lot of dark colors, sometimes it's hard to see the design, and when you just do simple outlining, your eyes can focus on what the design is. So it just really helps bring that alive. So I really like how these turned out. These are some of my favorite patterns to do. So this is the Cottage star. There's 2 versions. This is the short version with the 3 stars, and then there's a longer version. It has the 5. So perfect for fat quarters or scraps. I love how this turned out with the zigzag edge. It's just kind of fun to do. So let's move on to the next quilt. All right, our next one is Star Connection. I'm going to hold it up, that way you guys can see the border, because this one's kind of big. So let me slide it back, and I'm going to tell you about how I quilted it. So let's get it back here so you guys can see. All right, so I have my star blocks, and this is just positive and negative images of stars. But look, all I did was take the walking foot, and I did the wide outline quilting around the block. Moved to the next block. Did the wide outline quilting around that block. Moved over to the next block. Did the wide around it. Do you see how easy that was? I don't have to do each little square. I didn't do that. I did the whole block like that. Super, super easy. So let me show you also. This is the cute little design that I put in here. This is called Interlocking Hearts. This is the one, I've used this one before. But as you can see, it would not fit that way. So I just had to slightly tilt it. And there, see, fit in there perfectly. So I did that, did Freemotion Quilting around all my stars, but this was simple. It was just outline quilting and then just some simple Freemotion Quilting. So our Star Connection is just 2 colors. You know, you can pick whatever feature color you like, and then a background fabric. Comes in 4 sizes, crib through king. Love how this one turned out, beautiful. This was actually 3 Sisters fabric. I love their fabric. This is Sister Bay, which just the beiges in it are so, so pretty. And I had to have some fun, so I did the pretty bird print on the back that they had that matches with this collection. Oh, I love how the back looks. Just a pretty neutral quilt. So this was this is a beautiful one. Let's move on to the next one. All right, are you ready for a patriotic quilt? Here is Parade Days. I'm going to hold it up so you guys can see the border, and then we're going to stretch it out, and I'm going to talk about it. So this fabric collection is Brenda Riddle. Somebody around here likes Brenda Riddle fabrics, you know. So this is Sweet Liberty. I love, love, love this vintage print that she did. So cute for patriotic quilts, you know. And of course, the backing fabric is from the Brenda Riddle collection, those cute little rosebuds. So this pattern comes in 5 sizes, baby through queen. Cute for patriotic quilts. You could also change it up, make it for a Christmas quilt, do red and greens. But I wanted to talk about the quilting. So this is where I used straight line quilting for our sashing. I also used 2 stencils. So this is the filigree border. I want to show you guys what I did here. So for the border, I had these large borders to go across. Let me scoot it down so we can see a full length. Here we go. So I wanted you guys to see this. So what I did was I laid it out and marked my design like this, where half the design was going on the white fabric and then half went into the blue and white stripe fabric. So it's a cute little continuous design that I did around the border. Then what I did was I flipped it and did it going the other way. So I want you guys to realize that you don't have to use just the width of the border on the exact width of whatever border you have. If you have a wider border, or if you want to cover several borders, you can actually stack them and use one border one direction and then flip it around to the other way. So that gives you an idea. But look how cute that turned out. It's just like a cute little ribbon going around here with this design. And then I used this loop border for the outer part. Now, I told you before, sometimes on prints, it's hard to see your design, but I still know it's there. I love to have the cute little loops. This is a super easy design. Quick and easy for borders, especially wide ones. Love that design too. But also, I did a bad thing. This happens to me quite frequently. I make a quilt in like a baby size, and then I look at it and I think, boy, I sure would like that in throw size for me. So I had to go back and make this in throw size. So let me show it to you. So here it is. Let me move this stuff out of the way. And we'll slide this over. So this is the 3x3. So it has 9 star blocks. But I love this fabric so much. And I know it's not quilted. It's not done yet. It's just a quilt top. But is this not gorgeous? Is this not pretty? I love Patriotic Quilts. I have all kinds of family members that were in the service, so Patriotic holidays are always big at my house. I love putting Patriotic Quilts on my porch railing. And this one here, I know it's not finished, but you know what I did with it? So I have a hutch in my sewing room, and on the cabinet door, I had it hanging over the summer, just hanging on display. And look how pretty that looks. Just because there's no backing and no batting on it, it gives it such a nice, lightweight, kind of like summer breezy look and feel to it. So if you guys have quilt tops that you haven't finished, and I know probably some of you do, I want you to use them. Pull them out, put them on display so you can enjoy them. You know, we make these, we enjoy making them. So it doesn't matter if it's finished or not, you can still enjoy it. So that's just a little freebie for you. So we'll move on to the next quilt, and that'll be our final one. All right, last but not least, we have Country Grace. Oh my, is that not a showstopper? I love black in a quilt, and when there's black and white check, it is so beautiful. I have to use it. This fabric is Country Rose by Lola Boutique. Beautiful, beautiful collection. And then of course, for the background, it's Country Rose also. But let's talk about the quilting. So the quilting stencils I used for this one, this is where I did outline quilting around our stars. And then I also outline quilted this empty block. And then I put in this cute little heart motif. So in this kind of situation, because it's such a tight space, you're going to want to do your outline quilting first. Then you're going to put your Freemotion design, your quilt design stencil in it, because you want to make sure you don't bump up against any of those outlines, your stitching lines, because we don't want to run over them. So we want to do our outline quilting first, then come back in and plug in our cute little stencil designs. Now this is where I also use the heart. So I also popped the hearts in the star blocks just to have some fun. And this design here is called Splish Splash. So it kind of sounds like water, but I wanted you guys to see. Let me slide this over because I also used the Chaparral Border. I went crazy on this quilt, as you can see. I used like 4 different stencils on this quilt. So I used the Chaparral Border on this quilt like I did on the Loving Wishes quilt. And you can see I ran it along the borders here, how pretty that turned out. Now look at this. Let me get a piece of paper to put behind this design. That way you guys can see. Do you see how cute Splish Splash looks with this Chaparral border that has kind of like a little heart design? See how it kind of has the same kind of look of these loops? So that's what I did on the outer border. I did this cute little loop design on the outer border. So I love how this turned out. This was fun because I got to go kind of crazy and put all different kind of designs in here. Just felt like this quilt could hold it. It could stand that kind of thing. And this is where you can go any kind of direction. You can do hearts, like I did hearts here. That was kind of like my theme with it, that it was hearts, because it has cute little sayings in here. This country rose design, like it has love, 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 you know, and all kinds of charming and cute little sayings that are written into the focal fabric there. So I kind of felt like the hearts went well with it, and I thought like there was a lot of blank areas where we could pop in some designs like that. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I hope it gives you some inspiration for whatever quilt project you're working on, or for your next one, to see how you can incorporate using straight line quilting with your walking foot and some free motion quilting using stencils, because boy, they make it so easy. You don't really have to think about it. You just have to have that smooth, steady pace. And I want you to be sure to like and subscribe, because I don't want you to miss out on our next class. Be sure to tell me in the comments if you want that binding class, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, dear friends. Till next time, enjoy quilting.